Sup, it's a True Floater, and I'm doing a review on the Marvel Legends Heroes Return Iron Man. I think another name it goes by was the Resonance armor. I can't say the word. I cannot say the word. Renosis. Screw it. If y'all are not familiar with this armor was created, I think, somewhere roughly around the late 90s, maybe mid 90s, but more so the late 90s to the early 2000s. It was a pivotal armor. It was around for a moment. Most people forget about it because it was also around the time where Marvel Comics were going bankrupt, so they weren't selling many comics for a while, and sadly this armor is kind of forgotten at the time. But he had the armor for a good 7, maybe honestly 6 years. And one weird story is that this armor became alive and became basically extremely attached to Tony itself and wouldn't let him wear any other armor but this armor. It's a weird comic. It's interesting, but I got this figure about a couple weeks ago. I've had it for a minute. I also just got the Mark 1, so you'll be seeing back-to-back reviews of those Iron Man figures. But I really like it for the most part. It has some problems, but mostly positive things. But let's get into the review. Alright, first thing first, like every other review, we're going to go into the aesthetics of this Iron Man figure. If you already didn't notice, the majority of this mold is pretty much very similar to the 80th or 70th anniversary Iron Man figure. I'll actually bring it out right now. Give me a moment. Pretty much this Iron Man right here. Obviously doesn't, you know, there's a lot of differences. They did a heavy retool on this mold to make it its own, and to make it very different, so it doesn't feel like you're getting the same thing. It feels like a whole new figure for the most part. They added shoulder pads, changed up the arc reactor, a different head sculpt. They even changed up the whole neck piece too. That neck piece is not similar at all. They added a collar. Also changed the hips. If you go even a little lower, they pretty much redid the whole boots for the most part. Those are totally different boots. Only problem is the articulation in the foot pivot area isn't as good as the original, which kind of sucks. But the accuracy of the armor itself is very good to what it is in the comics. Very good. I would say the only problem is for it to do the retool to get it accurate, they kind of took away some of the articulation that the original figure had. Now it's still not true. They didn't take away a crazy amount, but like, you know, the shoulder pads do get away the articulation of the shoulders. You can still get the same looks, but it's just gonna be a bit more difficult. Same again, I already talked. I'll go more deep into articulation, but for getting accuracy, they sacrificed articulation a little bit, but it looks straight up accurate. It looks nice. I can't say like there's any inaccuracies for the most part. Like maybe they could have added some paint on the back right there. That would have been nice. Another thing that I don't like is because this is based off an older mold, it's not pinless, which at this point in time you would expect it almost for every Marvel figure, especially comic figures, to be pinless at this point. And like, I get that it's an older figure, but that's not really a good excuse when you've seen Marvel Legends take older figures and make them pinless. They've done it before. They've done it many times, and I don't know why they didn't do it with this figure. They went to the extent of even basically turning it into a whole new figure, but they didn't make it pinless. That was weird to me. That was oh yeah, also different gauntlets. What else? For the most part, it's not bad. Really looks a little good. They got lazy at some points, but overall, I'm glad it just doesn't. It's just not a crappy just repaint of this guy. That would have been very disappointing. Alright, and here's how the figure looks like in hand. I'm gonna do a little different segment. I'm gonna take out the articulation segment, because again, this figure is not really a new sculpt. We've seen it before, just heavily retooled. Like, I'll move it around a little bit for you. Like for example, I think the shoulders, you can still, I think for the most, yeah, you can still get a full circle around. So it's not, it doesn't get in the way as much as I thought, but it is a bit more tedious to do. Like, it doesn't, yeah, that, it looks weird though. But I mean, for the most part, feels good in hand. I don't have many loose joints with this figure as well, which is always nice. You know, it's a bonus for a Hasbro product to not have too many loose joints or no arms wanting to pop off on me, which I've been getting a lot of figures, especially classified figures. Granted, I haven't collected as many classified figures lately, but the arms just want to pop off. Not this guy. Pretty much, he likes to keep his arms. Feels good for the most part. I'll get you also, I guess, a comparison of his size. Shouldn't be too surprising for some of y'all. I'll back this camera up a little bit. There we go. I'll get a newer figure I just got. That's how he looks next to the Mark 1. You'll be seeing a review on this guy sometime either in the next couple of days or next week. Alright, let me get someone else. Here we go. I'm just gonna use her for a minute. Yeah, it's definitely noticeably bigger, as Iron Man figures should be. And there you go. Alright, my overall final thoughts on this version of Iron Man, this figure. As a figure by itself, I do feel like they kind of were half-assed on certain details of this figure, mainly, again, the pinless joints. There's really no excuse for that, especially for what you're paying for. Already doesn't come with a crazy amount of accessories, but again, it comes with no Build-A-Figure either. So for them to just make this figure and just not do the one detail that would have been very much appreciated, it's just lazy to me. But the figure itself, extremely accurate, extremely comic accurate. They did better than I thought. I thought it would be a lot more lazy, considering this figure comes out of the Marvel's wave, so they would have focused more on those MCU figures and pretty much just, again, been half-assed, which they kind of were on this guy. But the other comic book figures in this wave were even worse, and this was by far the better one. So I'm glad they didn't, you know, shit the bed on this one. But good articulation, at least for the mold. It is a little outdated compared to other figures, but for an Iron Man figure, you can only ask for so much. Again, love the details. They could have added more paint. That's also one of the bit smaller details right there. They could have added some paint on the back of it. There's a lot more positives than there are negatives, and those negatives do great. They do great on me. But for the most part, I'm also a big Iron Man fan, and I've definitely been wanting this figure for a little bit. It wasn't like the highest on my list of Iron Man armors, but I was definitely, you know, waiting on it for at some point. So I'll have to give it a grade of maybe like a 7 out of 10. Just cause those pinless joints. Maybe I sound like a broken record, but I still can't get over those pinless joints. But a 7 out of 10 as a figure, as an overall purchase, if this is worth getting. If you aren't a Iron Man fan like me, then this is just another random Iron Man, and it's probably just you could care less about any Iron Man, unless you just only care about the very more important ones. Just skip over it. It's not worth it, as most of the figures are this way. And this is even like there are some really bad figures in this wave, but I would skip over most of them, including this one. I only got it because I love Iron Man, and I'm going to complete that my haul of armors, no matter what. If I wasn't an Iron Man fan, I would have never given this a chance at all. It's definitely looked like they just kind of did this they made this figure just to get some extra cash, just in case the other figures don't sell as well. Because there are a lot of Iron Man fans, I will say that. But yeah, that's my review on this figure. Hopefully you liked it. If there's anything you want to see improved, comment. But yeah.